Hey, I thought I'd do a quick overview for Dragon Mark for Death. First thing I should mention is that unfortunately this game is not very pleasant to play single player, which I think is kind of odd because it's a portable game. So, people are going to be playing this game on the bus, in the train, at work, on break, and stuff like that, and it's just not as enjoyable as multiplayer. Now, I have seen some people say that the game does not scale HP, but it seems like it took a lot longer to kill one of the bosses. I did like one multiplayer mission. It seemed like it took longer than single player, but it's still not a very smooth experience regardless. Now, I can't really do a full overview because I don't have all the characters. Also, the game just came out, so it's kind of a little difficult to do that with 4 playable characters with different movesets and stuff. But first off, your items. Basically, you start off like this. You can equip them, and you have to do it every time from the hub, so it can be kind of awkward. You have 4 equipment slots, so I've done a little bit of grinding off camera, and it's actually a little bit smoother than it would be normally, but it's still considerably grindier than I thought it would be. So the Shinobi is, he's basically Gunvolt and Zero, a little bit of Copan as well. He's kind of like all the Inticreates, like fast-paced platformer characters, all kind of in one archetype. So he has a dash, very similar to the Gunvolt dash. You have to repeatedly press it, it doesn't last forever. Like this is one press of it right there. You notice the little dust clouds when a new dash gets refreshed. If you push L1 or L in the air, he has a glide. He also has this dash. So I'm going to go straight into a game right here. Actually, I'll show the shops too. Now, one thing I should mention is if you pre-ordered the game, you're probably wondering where the Striker Pack DLC is. It's actually all level 10 items, and this game actually does have level requirements, so you won't be able to equip it right away. I think, honestly, they should have made it so that you could just equip it regardless. I think that would have helped the early game grind, because a lot of people are having problems with just how grindy the game is at the start, and struggling to play single player and stuff. I think that's definitely something they need to look into, but they all cost 4,500 gold, so you'll have to probably play for maybe an hour or two, depending on how fast things go, and then you can buy these. So if you play the Gunvolt games, it's very obvious which ones they are. Sumeragi Glaive is obviously a Gunvolt reference. So is a Lux Calibur, the Dart, and then the Grimoire from Gunvolt 2. So you can equip 2 weapons and 2 accessories, and then also you have to equip these here. So healing items are definitely very important in this game, and it's very difficult, especially at least starting out. Oops. It's kind of weird. You have to push up to open chests and interact with switches and stuff, but you have to push the X button to actually go inside something, so a little awkward. So you can buy items from here. However, you can always get upgraded versions of them from just playing the game. So I haven't really seen much of a use for these aside from just a necessity. If the grind is the RNG is being cruel to you, then you have the option of getting things here, but you will get upgraded ones from just playing. Like for instance, right now I have a short kunai +2 and an ogre's bangle +1. And I got those just from playing, and those are exponentially better than the ones you can buy in the shop. So I'm going to do the first mission here so you guys can see exactly how how little damage you do, how kind of awkward the game feels when you play it single player. Now you get this DLC quest here, and it actually does drop pretty good gear, but it's definitely a real slog. You do like pixels of damage. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and I'll ramp up the difficulty to level 10. So basically, once you hit a certain level, you can increase the difficulty, and it will pretty much increase everything from the quality of the drops to how much the how much health the enemies have. So the Shinobi has a lock-on mechanic very similar to what Copan had in Gunvolt 2. He has like a jump cancel, he has a launcher, and then he has like a rider kick type thing that does a lot of damage. Also takes a lot of your dragon points as well. Now the controls are definitely not the problem with this game. You can see how responsive the character is. Even the other characters are not as like fast as him, but they are also responsive as well, from what I've heard. I was kind of waiting for the physical version before I buy the other characters, and also I want to see if they're going to make the single-player experience a little smoother. So I may not have any gameplay on them for a while. The physical release is supposed to be coming out in March. They work with a pretty small publisher. I believe they're in New Jersey, so I don't think they have the resources to do like day-and-date physical releases, especially since this is an indie game. Like, I have pretty good gear right now, and you can see like just how much health the enemies have. I've seen some people complain about balancing. Apparently the Witch is like absolute torture to play in single player, and the Shinobi has actually been pretty fun so far, but he's also a glass cannon, and sometimes you can get in situations where it feels kind of difficult to avoid attacks. Sometimes you'll have to weave between enemies with the dash and take them out if you can't kill them instantly. That's a pretty good example right there. You have to pay attention. There's a chest up here. Now that bar at the bottom, that's not your health bar, that's actually your revive bar. When you die, you lose a certain amount of points, and when those points expire, that's when you get a game over. Now, I should also mention, like, I had looked at about 3 or 4 reviews for this before I made this video to see if maybe I was doing something wrong. You know, this is a brand new game, so sometimes people have complaints with the game that are in hindsight, you know, when they don't know the game that well, or they haven't gotten good enough gear. But I've seen all 3 reviews I read basically all mention the same thing, that the game is not really repetitive, it's just that it takes too long to kill things. They have a lot of health. It's not uncommon to really use all your items pretty much every time you go through a map. Like, a lot of your, sorry, I'm kind of lost for words right now. A lot of your resources you get after finishing a map are going to go straight back into healing items. That item I just used basically increases the piety stat, which is what the rider kick scales off of. See how long this is taking. This is kind of the problem. And for future reference, like when you fight this boss the first time, it takes just about as long too. Like the fact that I have better gear, I only scaled it up to level 10, it still takes a really long time. Okay, so towards the end of a fight, you can get this dragon spear thing. You do like a super attack, and then you get unlimited dragon points for a short period of time. I was gonna say I was having no trouble, but... This feels like a bit of an endurance test sometime. I think they really need to decrease the scaling. Like, all the attacks are dodgeable, it is fun to dodge them, but when it just takes so long, and this is like the beginning of the game, it just feels like a slog, and I think it would be pretty easy for them to fix, you know, just make it so that it scales a lot less in single player, maybe lower their health by like a flat percentage or something. I think that would definitely help. The game itself is very fun. I do enjoy playing it. It's just, it's a very grindy game. It's pretty difficult to go through it from just mission to mission. I've heard that the balance is not the best, but I can't particularly comment on that because I only have the Advanced Attackers pack, and I would rather buy the other pack, A, when they patch the game, and B, when the physical version is out. So, if you want to play this single player, you know, if you have a very active lifestyle where you're not always around internet access at all times, then you may want to hold off. If you have friends to play with it, the game seems quite fun. All the characters have their own particular role, like the Shinobi in particular can attract a lot of aggro because his rider kick does a lot of damage and things like that. I hear that the Empress also is a good DPS character, and the Warrior is a tank. I'm not exactly sure what role the Witch holds, but I imagine that she's support as well. I think this is nothing that they can't fix with patches, but it is pretty worrying that like every review I read today, like I said, was all talking about how just unfun the game was to play in single player. So I may not do as much with this game as I initially planned. I have a feeling that they'll fix it pretty soon. Obviously, if all the reviews are talking about it, and those are all people that got review keys. I didn't get a review key for this game at all. I'm pretty sure that it will be fixed in due time. I'll definitely let you guys know when that happens. Anyway, that's it. I don't really think it's good to do another run when it takes this long already. When they do fix the game, I'll definitely let you guys know. For those of you who have not played Inticreates games in the past, they are very receptive of feedback. Keep in mind this is a developer that put 60 FPS support in the PC version of Gunvolt 1 like 2 years after it came out. Like long after it had, stopped selling copies, they went ahead and patched that back in because the Switch version already had the majority of that work done to kind of, I guess, most likely untie the game logic from the frame rate. They went back and did that like 2 years later. Both, Gunvolt 2 and Blaster Master Zero and Mighty Gunvolt Burst all got pretty significant post-launch support as well. So I'm sure both in terms of DLC and balancing, things will be fixed, but for now, it is definitely a very rough experience. If you're in for a really difficult game single player, then it's probably right up your alley, but if you're expecting to make pretty constant progression without having a party and grinding, then it's definitely not the game for you in this current state. Thanks for watching. Peace.